it's interesting how that he got the healing cases, and before before service, Brian had a brief vision. He grabbed me before service. He said, I had a picture of three things. Share what they were.
The first is a picture of a lion with its mouth open, blowing a hot fire. The second is an iron rod that is hot and put to a wound to cauterize it, an open wound. And then the third was a clear bottle, glass bottle, with oil in it that was being poured out.
So he shared that with me, and I'll explain this in a bit, but I just knew that was deliverance. God showed him there's people tonight need deliverance. So he got the healing people, and I got the deliverance people. And there was, I think there was 5 different people who got some deliverance tonight. Now here's the interesting part. 4 of them knew they had demonic problems. And they told me, I have demons, and this is what's happening right now. I need your help. Or can you help me? Or what do we do? Now, isn't that interesting? They knew they had bondage. Can you bring up Acts? We're going to be done earlier tonight because tomorrow morning service here, and some of you go to other churches, and we don't want you to get home too late. But I want to point something out here that's really good. It's last night we spent, hour and a half talking about this is how it works and giving examples of this is how it works. I'm going to give you one example, and I am in the New King James. This is the example that Acts chapter 3, did I tell you what verse? Maybe I didn't say what verse. That would help. Acts chapter 3. Let's go and verse 2. We'll get a running start on this. New King James. And a certain man, lame from his mother's womb, was carried, whom they laid daily at the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask alms from those who entered the temple, who seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, he asked for alms. So he saw him coming, so he asked for alms. Now, Brad said today something was different. They had gone into the temple many times, probably passed this guy many times. But all of a sudden, today, something was different. What was different? This is, right here it says, if you've ever operated in this, you know exactly what happened. Verse 4. And fixing his eyes on him with John. So they both had it.
Yep.
With John, Peter had the same thing, fixing his eyes on him. That's how the New King James reads it. The Amplified says it. And Peter directed his gaze intently at him. Brad talked about it last night, the way it works. And everybody seems to kind of, there's a number of ways it works, and everybody experiences all of them. But certain people experience certain ones more often. And he said his is just that inward witness, that knowing. This is how that works, and that's what they experience, because if you've ever had this, you know how this works. You're going along, and you look at someone, and it's like there is a supernatural inside of you. If you're paying attention, there's a supernatural, something's different, and you know something. That inward witness is like knowledge you would have known before. Like today is Saturday. And you didn't know today was Saturday until you looked at someone and went, it's Saturday. You just know. It feels the same way. It's like, did you drive here or walk here? I drove here. It's knowledge. If I'd say, how'd you get here? The way it feels when you say, I drove here. It's just fact. It's just knowledge. It's what happened. It's what is. Yep. When that inward witness kicks in and you look at someone, there's a spiritual movement in you. That's why they directed their gaze. They felt it and they stopped. Yep. In that gaze, they were told what to do. And it's like a fact. Oh, this guy, it's already done deal. He's coming up today.
Yep.
And inside of him, it was like a fact. And then to get the job done, the gift of faith dropped into place.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, they must have had great faith. They didn't have any faith at all. They were told, it was not their faith.
Yeah, it wasn't their faith.
They were told with the inward witness, they gazed at him. Now, if you've ever had this happen, you know what they did. They looked at him, and there was something inside, their spirit moved, and a knowledge dropped in. You're healed. And the gift of faith came, which I've had that happen twice in my life. And when the gift of faith drops in, you cannot disbelieve.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to, you couldn't. You are so absolutely positive, sure
Yeah.
this will happen right now. It is so easy. You just, so be it. Boom, and it just takes place. And that's what happened with Peter and John. Of course, Peter was the outgoing one with the big mouth, so he was the one who said it.
Yeah.
They did have different personalities. Peter was more the outgoing one. I mean, yeah, Jesus slapped him back numerous times for quiet, Peter, you're talking too much. You know? But, so when this manifests, you have to be paying attention to your spirit. But when it you've all had it happen, but you didn't recognize it. But you've all had it happen. You look at someone, it's like, they're mad at me. You just knew they're mad at me. And then your head kicks in gear and goes, no, they are not. What am I thinking? Right? Or you look at someone and go, they're about to commit suicide.
Yeah.
It's just like I know it.
Yeah.
And they just stand out. It's like,
Yeah.
everybody here is cool, but
Yeah.
that person's about to commit suicide. And it's just, you know. Or you could be at Walmart and you're walking down the aisle and you're getting your groceries and you look up and you see this woman walking at you and it's just like a fact. Her husband just abused her. She's not crying. She's not black and blue. She's nothing. It's just, boom. She's an abuse case. You just know it. That is the Spirit of God speaking to you. How many of you have had that? We've almost all had that. How many of you didn't know what it was? Yeah. So now, how many of you did nothing on it? Because we didn't know. The Spirit just stepped up and said, there is somebody you can minister to. We had no idea. We excused it away. How can I even think that? She looks like a nice woman. I don't know what's wrong with me. Let's just get the ketchup and go. And we missed the whole opportunity.
Yep.
If we would have stopped and did what they did,
Yep.
they gazed intently. And in that gaze, you know what they were doing inside? Holy Spirit, what is this? There's something here. What is this?
Yep.
And that's when the inward witness or the knowing, it just drops in. It's just like, it feels like a fact you've known all your life. She's an abuse case. Her husband's abusing her. You just know it. Now, he didn't give you that knowledge to pick a better bottle of ketchup. If we would be bold enough and sensitive enough,
Yeah.
we would try to find a way to approach that woman
Yep.
and see if she'll open the door. And this is one of the principles we're going to talk about on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
When you move in the gifts of the Spirit, you don't go in there like a bull in a china closet and kick the door down and say, God told me, and I'm going to help you. And I was like, you'll scare the living daylights out of these people.
Yep.
That's like when it was last night. Somebody shared with you about last night. Last night we had stomach and head issues, And someone shared that they were having an extreme migraine headache. They did not want to come, but they said they just knew. It's kind of like just the same knowledge. We have to go. And then they showed up and we dealt with head pain. And they mentioned to Mary, they said, how did he know that? Well, it wasn't me. God knew that. And that's why God gave them the desire. You got to be there. And then that's why he gave me the knowledge of, there's somebody here who's got some head pain. And we explained all that last night and how that worked. Okay? So that's how you're just walking along and you look at somebody, and if you're paying attention to the Spirit, like Brad says, if you're praying in tongues and just kind of letting it run in the background, you'll be more sensitive. And if you'll sense that movement and you'll stop and fix your eyes, gaze, just give it a few seconds, just look at them. Holy Spirit, what is this? You will know. Whatever it is. It might be a healing. It might be we walked through the store the other day, and I don't remember what the person's issue was, but we were walking down an aisle, and she leans over to me and says, that person has da-da-da-da going on in their body. How'd she know that? There was something different when she looked at them, and they caught her attention. She could feel it in her spirit, not in her head. It's just you can feel that spiritual, and she gazed, and all of a sudden the fact dropped in. Now we need to learn how to follow that fact up in a gentle, loving way. Try to open the door so the person can be ministered to. Because if God reveals it, he wants to deal with it. But it's up to the person to accept that, okay? So last night, today's Saturday. Yeah, I think it was last night. I was standing over here. You were sitting over there. And I was looking around, and it's like I am now. And I looked at you, and it's like, it moved. So I stared at you from over here. You didn't know I was staring at you. I stared at you. I said, what is this? And he said, I want to tell her something. Cool. Quiet. Nothing. Okay. It's kind of that just tap you on the head going, wake up. There's one thing I want to say something. Didn't say anything. This morning, your face came to just like last night. You were standing over there. Your face came to me, and he said this. This was the phrase he gave me. Don't forget me. I said, what do you mean? Don't forget me. She's afraid of being forgotten, overlooked, left out, becoming a nobody. So I'll stop right here and do what needs to be done. Am I right? Okay. I said, okay, so if that's right, what do I tell her? Nothing. Nothing came. Just quiet. So don't force it. Don't push it. But now something came. Just as I was talking to you, something came. You will never be a nobody because you're made in his image. He created and designed you. He loves you deeply. And he went out of his way to get you into this family so you would never be left out, never be forgotten, never left behind again for your life.
Thank you, Lord.
So that whole fear of don't forget me. Don't leave me out, whether it be thinking forward toward marriage, thinking forward towards a career, thinking I'm always left out. I'm always not included. He gave you this word and this example to say, just tell that fear to go to hell. The rest of your life will come into place the way this came into place, supernaturally. You will never be left out. He is always watching you. He will never leave you or forsake you. Relax. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. Okay? So now I just explained how that all happened. It happened just like that. So when he was reading it, I've read that before, but I never tied the two together. When you were reading it, it's just like, that's exactly the way it happens. They're walking in the gate, and they've seen this guy 100 times before, and all of a sudden they look at him in their spirit. It's like, there's something. So they stopped and fixed their gaze on him, and everything followed that. They got the inward witness. They knew this is the time. The gift of faith came. Boom, get up.
Yep.
Here we go. That is supposed to work in all of us. In fact, the raise of hands it's happening all the time. We just never recognize it. We just never recognize it. I talked to a business guy not that long ago. And he said, I'm always looking for a good deal, this, that, and the other. And I don't know. I stumbled across something that just kind of grabbed my attention. I said, what'd you do? I just kind of pondered it. You know what he's doing is fixing his gaze on it. Just kind of pondered it. Just thought about it. Just kind of looked at the whole thing. And he said, as I did, I just knew, this is God. I got to do this. He said, the physical didn't make a lot of sense, but I just knew this is God. I said, how'd it turn out? He said, I made a whole pile of money. He couldn't take 1 ounce of credit for it.
Yeah.
Because it was the moving of the Spirit in him that attracted him to an opportunity that he would have never seen. And he fixed his gaze on it and said, what is this? Let's look at this. And all of a sudden he knew. Like, it just comes like a fact. Like, this week was open heavens. I knew that. That's a fact. It just feels just like that. I'm supposed to do this. And he did it. Didn't argue with it. Didn't go to his financial consultant. Tell me if this is a good deal or not. I don't know what to do with it. He already knew that he had the impulse. He had the prompting. He just did it. He just obeyed. He said, it turned out so great. He said, I never guessed it. Didn't look like an opportunity. But I just felt I was supposed to do it. That can be how we live.
Yep.
Especially, it's one of the ways of God's trying to get our attention to help someone.